early extension. Is this swing fault ruining your golf swing? So look, early extension is when we're losing our body angles in our swing and our hips are thrusting towards the golf ball. The way we measure this is we draw a vertical line at setup from the outside of the backside down, and as soon as you have daylight appearing between your backside and that line, you are now early extended. Now, before you start fixing your early extension, you need to make sure you check these 3 things first.
Now, the reason we're doing this video is we've had loads of people in the comments down below saying, how can I fix my early extension? And we see loads of people on the driving range trying to fix it. And the one thing we would say is that it isn't always a bad thing. Just because you are having a little bit of daylight between you and that line, it's not always a problem. Something we say to our students is, it's only a problem if it's causing you a problem. Look at somebody like Tyrrell Hatton, one of the best players in the world. He early extends in his downswing, but he's not going to spend hours trying to fix it because it doesn't cause him any problems in his golf swing. So just be mindful of that. First, the most important thing then is setup. Now, a lot of golfers are...
It can't be that, Andy. It's got to be something from early extending. It can't be the setup.
This is big. A lot of my students recently have been doing this, and if you can get this right, it makes a huge difference. This is what we tend to see. This is what we're seeing. Somebody who's even trying to fix it ends up getting the backside really far back behind the heel line. Now the issue is here, as you make a backswing, your weight will engage into the feet, the hips then align over the ankles, and now we've early extended on the way back, and then we've early extended on the way down. So
and fall over,
lose your balance. So if you're seeing some early extension, it might be in the setup. So really important that we stack the hips over the ankles. So here's what we want to really see. We want to see that the hips are a little bit more aligned over the ankles. And a great guide is if we had a vertical line down behind the backside, it's going to be roughly a club head behind the heels. Now if you sit back like we see Pierce, you can see how that's way behind now, and even the weight goes into the heels. And then when the weight's in the heels, as you want to engage, the weight's going to move towards there. Now the great thing about being in a really good posture is the more balanced you are and the more we're in this great posture here, the more we can maintain that within the swing, and there's less movement around. One of the key components of getting in a good posture is so we can actually maintain better angles through the shot. Just hit a shot then, Pierce, and just show them what a good posture is like.
Oh, sorry, a good posture, my bad.
That was almost a shank, but we'll leave that one in for you guys.
Okay, so good posture.
So good posture. So again, just getting the hips more stacked over the ankles. Great posture there.
Yeah, good to go.
Yeah, let's just fire one away. And it just helps maintain those body angles. Now, what we would say is, me and Pierce have a little bit of early extension. We have a little bit of movement off that line, but we don't obsess over it because it doesn't cause us a problem. So one of the things you can do at home, great drill that you can do at home, is you can position yourself against the wall, get yourself roughly about a club head away from the wall, from your heels, and get standing there and get your backside against the wall. This is a great way to give you a bit of a feel of getting those hips more aligned over the ankles. Great way you can do something practical at home. It gives you that right feeling, and then you can put it straight into practice on the practice area like that.
And what you should feel when you're doing this, if you're on the wall, because our hips aren't a circle, they're an ellipse. So what actually happens is your right butt cheek, as you swing back against that wall, is going to be pushing into the wall. And as you swing back down, then that left butt cheek wants to be going into the wall on the other side. So that's when you know that you're doing it really well.
Definitely, and just be aware of where the weight is. It needs to be in the middle of the feet, not the heels.
Yeah.
Okay, the second one here, this is again really important. How we move the hips. Think about this. We're measuring the line behind the backside. We're looking at really the hips and hopefully not getting too much thrusting forward. How we pivot the hips is going to influence really what they do regarding that line.
So yeah, so what we'll generally see, and this can be a little bit down to mobility, but also down to concepts and also down to just thinking of the wrong things. But if you're moving like this, you're moving back, you start turning your hips, and then your hips stop turning. And then we start to sort of raise up, and then we move in like this because we're not getting enough depth to our hip turn. So what we'd want to see is that this, you've heard us talk about swap pockets, getting the front pocket into the back pocket. So from here now, let's make sure my posture's good. Got a fly trying to eat me. But then from here, just feeling as though we're getting a deeper hip turn now, and that right hip pocket is going backwards into the back.
And you can see we're sort of sitting back into that there, as opposed to actually sort of moving in from that. So how we move the hips
quite easily when I'm doing this. I can tap my toes on the floor, that's good.
So the weight starts to shift into the heel there as those hips move back. So that's a great one for the backswing, just actually creating a good hip pivot. Let's go into, no, I'll tell you what, let's show the transition first, and then we'll give you the drill, because the drill helps with the backswing and the transition.
Two for one, Andy, a 2 for 1.
It's a great drill, this one.
So from here, as you said, let's get that nice, let's get good posture. Okay, good posture. Let's get that deep hip turn. And then from there, I think one thing that I always like to feel when I'm talking to golfers about this is just being a little bit more patient. So being a little bit more patient and maybe just even just allowing a little bit of an arm drop. We can see that the hips aren't firing straight away. Now, obviously, in reality, we know that we want them to do this, but if you're early extending, they're probably too active. So at this stage here, being a little bit calm, a little bit slow with those hips is going to really allow you to slot the club really nicely, and then you can do the turning and moving on the way through.
Show an example, first of all, Piers, of what we'll typically see of a bad move from this right side.
The Elvis.
From the downswing.
So we'll see the old Elvis coming up here, and yeah, that right foot goes up onto it like that. Chris Crane, if you're watching, we've been trying to fix this for 20 years and it hasn't worked, has it?
Right hip, right foot, right knee, everything's moving through the golf ball and very, very cramped here. So this right side firing too early in the downswing can also be an issue.
And we haven't really spoke too much about the bad shots. You can look, it makes sense. If I'm going to be doing this here, I can't compress the golf ball. I can't get forward shaft lean, and I'm very much going to be shanking it a lot as well. So that can really happen quite easily with this early extension.
So here's a drill, helps with both. So just talk through this one, Piers.
Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to get you set up. I've just realised every shot I've hit, I haven't been aiming anywhere near my target. So get into a good posture, and then we're going to get the right heel up, stand on my sand wedge or lob wedge. Make sure the shaft is behind and out of the way. Now, the key with this is lightly hold the wedge to start with. We're not pressing down and trapping it straight away. It's almost like it's allowed it's just being held like an egg maybe under my foot, but that's quite the right analogy, but it's very soft basically. And then from there, as I swing back, I get that deep hip turn, and now I crush that egg as I'm swinging back.
See the hip turn that Piers has got there, that right hip has worked back this way.
And then from there, as I start that transition, I'm a little bit more patient with that lower body, and I keep my heel down as I allow those arms to drop. And you can see my hips now are being kept back. I'm not thrusting in towards the golf ball. And then from there, obviously, what would happen is we would just turn through and hit it.
So the sand wedge here, if you are somebody who gets this firing very early, the club will drop just past impact. If you're hitting and if you're firing early, that sand wedge is going to drop before impact. Just show that, Piers, there, and then we'll get you to hit a full shot doing this.
Okay, so that goes in there.
Yep.
So the bad one would be, I'm not going to hit it, I'm just going to do the move, so I'm just going to do this one here.
So it drops before impact there.
Drops it well before, and I actually want to hit a bad one.
Hit a good one.
Hit a good one. Hit a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, make sure that's good. That's good. I'm not aiming correctly, but that's okay. Patience. Patience, patience. Maybe I should do that more often.
Well, the thing is that is actually what you're working on in your golf swing at the moment, and it's definitely helping. Okay, third and final one, which is a little bit linked to this actually, I would say, and this is a little bit more to do with shallowing the shaft. We said that a lot of early extension is caused by other faults or other problems, and often it's down to a steep downswing. So just demonstrate and talk through why that sort of causes it, Piers.
Okay, so if we look at this here, and again, I think they'll often complement just weight going onto toes early as well. So as soon as we create this steepness in our swing and the weight shifting forward in our toes, it'll often be that the club is doing this here, and then all we do then to try and stop this, if you think about where I am from here, if I just swing normally, I'm going to swing violently over the top and could even miss the golf ball. So in an attempt to try and hit the golf ball now, I've actually got to do this kind of move here, where I thrust my hips in really excessively to hopefully try and get the club to move down like this. And that can work. And I've got a guy I teach, Bali Singh, who's really good at doing it and managing it. But again, it's not always going to be that consistent. But again, if you are from here, as soon as you start that shaft steepening out and then you do that to try and get it on plane, you might get it on plane, but you're going to early extend.
So if we can start, so if you go to the top of the swing, so if we can start the transition and the downswing in a much shallower place where the club now is here, there's no compensation needed now, you can then start to go ahead and turn and fire and keep that lower body back, because now you're in a great spot with the golf club.
I actually do like doing this, and look, we speak, I think we're going to mention Justin Rose obviously does this drill. I think he's been doing this drill for about 15 years. Maybe since he started working with Sean Foley. I know he's been doing it a long time, but he will actually get he has the feeling or the reality of his left bicep just running down his pec and down his rib cage. So he wants to really, as he starts his lower body, he just has that feeling of his arm running down the chest. And you can just do these movements, get a good feel for it, If you want to put a shot into that, you can do that as well. And again, that just really allows the hips to stay back. and your arms to get out in front of you.
I like this
Space,
as well.
room.
Do that
Nice.
one more time, because this is what we see a lot of people doing. Go to the top of the golf swing. So we'll see a lot of people trying to shallow it by doing this.
Yes.
So like really rotating super hard and trying to shallow here, but we have no space. This right hip's come forward. Yes, the shaft looks shallower, but good luck hitting it from there. And what Piers is demonstrating there is allowing, we've created the depth, but now we're actually just allowing the arms to fall into this space, keeping this back so we can turn.
Yeah.
It's huge. I love that move that you're doing there. I think it's so powerful for a lot of amateur golfers.
It's a great drill if you're overactive with that lower body. It really is.
I'll just do one more for me. I'm just going to ask you a question.
Yep.
What's the grip pressure like when you do this?
Really light.
Really light.
Really
So
light.
the softness of the arms here.
Yeah. So again, and that's the reason why. It's not because I specifically want my hands to be light. I want to make sure there's no tension in my arms. It would be very easy to bring the club down like this and say, I'm going to bring the club down like Piers and Andy say. That we don't want that much tension really. We want to make sure.
Give yourself take a little bit of that tension out.
Give yourself a hernia when you're doing it. But again, I like that.
There you go. Look at that. So the arms are just falling into position there.
And then from there, just let it go. Not bad. And tee it up maybe to start with. Don't do them off the ground because you're going to be really good to hit good shots off the ground.
Early extension. Remember, it's not always a problem. It's only a problem if it's causing a problem, but there's some great things for you to work on there if you do early extend, or if you just want to create great foundations to move your body more consistently in the golf swing. Hope that helps. If you want more from us, make sure you check out meandmygolf.com or simply download the Me and My Golf app, and we look forward to seeing you next time.